Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So yesterday, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining us today. I wanted to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue with this most glorious of scriptures, and especially the 10th canto is regarded to be the mature fruit of the whole Bhagavatam. So yesterday we talked about Lord Krishna's activities in Mathura, giving Kamsa a hard time, giving a bashing, then freeing his parents and King Ugrasen, or he made Ugrasen the king. And oh yeah, sorry.
And Krishna made a Guru Dakshina.
Yes, that's actually that was yesterday. He went to Sandipani ashram and gave, and then at the end of the studies he gave Guru Dakshina. So today we are going to talk about really incredible pastimes of Lord Krishna with one of his favorite devotees, Udav. So this is a nice verse in the Bhagavatam, 46th chapter, text 4.
Taman manasa mat prana mat te tyaktva dehitkaha mam eva deitam prestam atmanam anasa gataha yetyaptva loka dharmascha mat te tan vivarmi aham. Translation: the minds of those gopis are always absorbed in me, and their very lives are ever devoted to me. For my sake, they have abandoned everything related to their bodies, renouncing ordinary happiness in this life, as well as religious duties necessary for such happiness in the next life. I alone am their dear most beloved, and indeed their very self. I personally sustain such devotees who for my sake give up all worldly duties.
So this is amazing verses by Lord Krishna describing his connection with the gopis, especially this last sentence. I personally, he himself sustains these devotees because they've given up everything for him. So it's very powerful. So this is the inspiration for doing bhakti for nothing else but serving Krishna. Because you become his own. He looks after you as if he's yours. And this is what we want to achieve. I'm not, please don't throw me away, my Lord. I am yours. So the title of this chapter is Udav visits Brindavan. This chapter describes how Krishna sent Udav to Braj to relieve the distress of Nandi, Shuda, and the young gopis. So who is this Udav? He's one of the relatives of Krishna, but he's such an amazing relative. He looks like Krishna. When the gopis saw him, they were thinking this is Krishna, but actually, of course, he's not. He's a devotee of Krishna, but he looks exactly the same. Similar age. And his relationship with Krishna was very unique. And he's a direct disciple of Brihaspati, so very knowledgeable. But his relationship with Krishna was extremely close. Whenever Krishna made a decision, he'd consult Udav. Even simple decisions, he would consult Udav. So you can see the closeness of Krishna with his devotee Udav. And even before, when Krishna was in Mathura, often Udav would find him in a very contemplative mood. He would be looking into the distance, and Udav would be wondering, what is my dear Krishna thinking about? And Krishna would just be looking into the distance, and sometimes he would have a very sad look on his face. And one time Udav asked him, why are you so sad? Why are you looking so lonely? And he said to Udav, well, I'm missing my devotees. I'm missing the gopis, missing my parents, missing the Bijbasis. Udav couldn't quite grasp what Krishna meant because he's a Supreme Lord. How could he be missing anybody? He's Atma Rama. He's self-satisfied, doesn't need anybody. And yet here is Krishna is lamenting. And Krishna saw Udav was perplexed. So he thought, okay, I'm gonna, you are my devotee. You are a very nice devotee. Krishna just thought to himself, but I'm gonna show you others who are more advanced than you are. Although he was extremely advanced. But because Udav could not understand Krishna's mood, Krishna sent him to the devotees who make Krishna feel lonely. Very unique, very, very unique pastime. The supremely intelligent Udav was the best counselor of the Vrishni dynasty, a beloved friend of Lord Shri Krishna and a direct disciple of Brihaspati. So a very, very qualified personality. And Krishna loved him very much. Once Krishna requested Udav to go to Brindavan. So the external reason was the message, but the internal reason too was to make Udav understand who these Brijvasis are. So he sent him to Brindavan with a message from him to pacify his parents, the gopis, the residents, and the residents suffering in their separation. He especially remembered the gopis who had sacrificed everything for him. So that's the verse that we were chanting right at the beginning, and whose minds are always absorbed in him. He alone is their dearmost beloved and personally sustains such devotees. Suffering in separation from him, when they remember him, they were struggling to maintain their lives. And the ironic thing is, it's the other way around as well. Krishna is struggling to survive himself when he's remembering that. This is the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. So this is quite a nice picture. As Udav looks very like Krishna. So, respecting Krishna's wishes. Yes, Naniman.
Yes, this must be a lila of Krishna, isn't it? Because being the supreme, as supreme Lord, and him missing because he's not related to anybody, isn't it? He doesn't take anybody, any relationship, no mother, no father. And so I think, as you say, the internal reason was for Uddhav to see what the love of gopis is, isn't it?
That's right. Definitely it's Leela, but this is also the internal mood of Krishna. You know, yes, you're right. He's neutral. He's neutral.
He's neutral, yes.
He has no mother, father. He has no friends. He has no enemies. He's neutral. To those who are good, he's neutral. To those who are crazy, he's neutral. But his internal feeling is different. You know, when he says he's neutral, means that anybody can become his devotee. So he's close to his devotees. His internal relationship is very close with his devotees. But he doesn't stop anybody from becoming his devotee. That's the point. But this is actually how he is. The supreme personality of Godhead. So he has his personality, and personality means you have relationships. And relationships means you're going to be close to some and you're going to be not so close to others. But the beauty of Krishna is anybody can become close to him. He doesn't stop anybody. This is the most amazing thing about the Lord. We have to desire it. That's the only hurdle. If we desire it, then there's no hurdles. He'll fulfill whatever we desire.
It also says in the Bhagavad Gita that those who, yes, he loves everybody, he's neutral to everybody, but especially favorable to his devotees who love him most, those who worship him, those who are in devotional service with him.
Which is natural, right?
Which is natural, yeah.
But the neutrality comes in that nobody is stopped from being his devotee. That's where the neutrality comes in. Very good. Anything else, Naniman? Is that okay?
Yeah. And what was the age of Krishna at this time, Prabhuji?
I think probably about 12 now, no?
It's only 12.
Because he was
Yeah, because they
11.
returned from Mathura.
No,
Yeah,
it's a little older probably because
Maybe
this is
little
little bit into the Mathura Leela.
because he spent 2 months. Because in Mathura he was there for
20,
quite a few years
20
until
something
28, right? So about 17 odd years he was in Mathura.
Was he?
Yeah, it's quite a long time. Quite a long time. And there he did many things. He was doing many things.
Okay. And then after establishing Sursen as the king,
Ugrasen. Yeah.
Ugrasen, sorry, Ugra. I
Yes.
always get confused. Ugrasen and Sursen.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that for that long.
Yeah, I was there for quite some time. But he never went back to Brindavan. Well, of course, he never leaves Brindavan. But he never went back either.
So here it must be in his 20s then.
Probably about 14, 15, I think.
Yeah.
Not too old.
They haven't given a timeline. But it's probably quite soon after his stay at Sandipani Muni's. But maybe you're right. It might be 20. Yeah.
Because if he's in the Mathura for 17, 18 years, and when he killed Kans, he was 11, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
So this asking Udav to go back, is this happening while he's still in Mathura?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So we don't know at what time it is happening.
No, that isn't identified. Not in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. Now, thank you.
Haribo?
Yes,
Hare Krishna.
Madhusanto.
Yeah, considering the age, obviously Krishna is eternally a youthful personality. His personality in the spiritual world as well is very youthful. So he never, from our perspective, we might think material body is 20-year-old or youth or for 5 years or whatever. But according, but there's some description that he doesn't look any older than a youthful boy of about 16 or so. So I've kind of understood.
That's right. Always look 16. Because he was 125, wasn't he? And Kurukshetra battle was around about 100.
Yeah. So he doesn't actually age as such, but he's a youthful personality of about 16 or so.
Yes, good point.
Eternally youthful.
Yeah.
Okay, Haribo.
Thank you. Respecting Krishna's wishes, Udav mounted his chariot and set off for Nand Gokul. Reaching at sunset when the cows were returning from grazing, white calves were jumping everywhere. There was flute playing and singing of Krishna's glories by the cowherd men and women. There were forests, swarms of bees, lakes with swans, swarms of bees, lakes with swans, and lotus flowers. Since the returning cows and other animals were raising dust with their hooves, his chariot passed unnoticed. Gokul resounded on all sides with the sound of bulls in rut fighting with one another for fertile cows, with the mooing of cows, burdened by their udders, chasing after their calves, with the noise of milking the cows. The cowherd men's homes in Gokul appeared most charming, with their abundant paraphernalia for worship of the sacrificial fire. The sun, unexpected guests, the cows, Brahmins, forefathers, and demigods. On all sides lay the flowering forest echoing with the flocks of birds and swarms of bees, beautified by its lakes with swans, ducks, and lotuses. So the Brindavan here is a replica of the Brindavan in Golok, in the spiritual world. So in Vaikuntha, there's great opulence. There's huge palaces with incredible settings. And if you see this description of Gokul, it's very simple, very beautiful. So even the Lord of Vaikuntha, Vishnu, desires to go to Gokul, to see, to witness, to enjoy, to understand the atmosphere of Golok, Brindavan. because there everything is made of touchstone. It's made of Chintamani touchstone. It's just unique, incredible gems. And although it may appear simple, but even Vishnu desires, even though he has all of the opulence in Vaikuntha, his desire is still to see. And he'll use any excuse to go to Golok Vrindavan. So very interesting. And this similar Golok is here in Vrindavan, at least in that time. As soon as Udav arrived at Nanda Maharaj's home, Nanda came forward. So while he was going, he asked, this is one of the Goswamis explains in one of his books, I can't remember which it is. But Udav was asking the Brijabasis, where is the home of Nanda and Yashoda Mai? And they would say to him, follow the water, follow the rivers. What rivers? The rivers of tears. They're crying because they're missing Krishna. So this is how we actually found the house of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, because they were always lamenting, where is our Krishna? So they had huge, there was rivers of tears flowing from their home. Nanda came forward to meet him. The cowherd king embraced him in great happiness and worshipped him as none different from Lord Vasudeva. After Udav had eaten first-class food, being seated comfortably on a bed, being relieved of his fatigue by a foot massage and other means, Nanda inquired about the son of Sura, and that's Surasen. Vasudeva is his father, is his son. And recalled how the sinful Kams, who always hated the saintly Yadus, has been killed along with all his brothers. He asked if Krishna remembered them, if he remembered the cows, the forests. Does he remember Govardhan Hill? Will Govinda ever return to us again? When we see his sidelong glances, his smiles and his words, we forget all our material engagements. When we see him, we forget all our material engagements. Our minds are always absorbed in him when we see his pastime places. So he could speak, but during this time, Yashoda Mai couldn't speak. She would just have so many tears, and she would be really upset with Nanda Maharaj. You left Krishna in Mathura. Why didn't you bring him back? What could you do? None considered Krishna and Balaram must be two exalted demigods who have come to this planet to fulfill some great mission of the Devatas, as foretold by Garga Muni. None then recalled their pastimes. Krishna and Balaram, they killed Kams, who was as strong as 10,000 elephants, as well as the wrestlers Chanur and Mustik, and the elephant Kuvalayapida. With the ease of the royal elephant breaking a stick, Krishna broke a powerful giant bow, 3 talas long, huge bow. He also held a mountain aloft for 7 days with just one hand. Govardhan. In Brindavan, they, Krishna and Balaram, easily destroyed demons like Palamba, Denuka, Arista, Trinivarta, and Baka, who had themselves defeated both demigods and other demons. Overwhelmed by love, he could not speak. So Udav was all this time witnessing the love of these Brijabasis, Nanda and Yashoda. Yashoda could only cry when she heard about Krishna. Having clearly seen their love, Udav praised Nanda and Yashoda for their unalloyed devotion of Narayan. Their sons are the cause of creation and the super soul in everyone's heart. He wondered what pious deeds could still be required of them, as even a person in an impure state who absorbs his mind in Krishna for just a moment at the time of death attains it. So we know that Nand and Yashoda, they didn't do any tapasya to become the parents of Krishna, because they are actually part and parcel of Krishna. They are eternally the parents of Krishna. It's not that they have become parents. They always have been parents of Krishna. Although he has no parents. This is the inconceivable nature of God. But they are very, very much part and parcel of him. Identical, practically speaking. Udav confidently told them Krishna would return someday to Braj to keep his promise. Udav further informed them, for Krishna, no one is especially dear or despicable, superior or inferior. Yet he is not indifferent to anyone. Why not? Because he's close to us, right? He's with us all the time. And he's in that role as super soul, Paramatma. He's guiding us, he's looking after us, he's witnessing us. These three things. What are we doing? He's seeing what we're doing. Krishna is free from all desire for respect, and yet gives respect to all others. This is the humility of God, right? He has no desire for respect. He'll lie, it doesn't matter. For the sake of his devotee, he'll tell a lie. He will steal butter, makancho, so that his devotees can relish those pastimes. So for the pleasure of his devotees, he'll do all sorts of things which will gain him disrespect. But yet he gives respect to all. This is extraordinary. He has no mother, no father, no wife, no children, no relatives. No one is related to him, yet no one is a stranger to him. He has no material body and takes no birth. He has no work to do in this world that would oblige him to take birth. Yet to enjoy his pastimes and deliver his saintly devotees, he manifests himself. So we often recite that verse, right? Yada ida dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata bhyutanamata dharmasya tadatmanam sajamyam. That he comes to re-establish religion and destroy religion. But actually that's not the real reason he comes. This is the real reason. Enjoy his pastimes, deliver his devotees. That's why he comes to this world. So Udav is explaining all this. Although beyond the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, the transcendental Lord accepts association with them as his play. Now, of course, Udav knows the philosophy. He's a student of Brihaspati. But now he's going to learn a lesson about bhakti. He has bhakti, but his bhakti is at a little different standard to that of Yashoda and Nand and the gopis. When the women of Braj woke up in the morning, they began to churn yogurt into butter, loudly singing the glories of Krishna. After the sun had risen, they noticed the golden chariot. So Udav had come in that chariot. They finally realized, hey, who is this? And they wondered whose chariot it is. Could it belong to that cruel Akrur? Because he came also in a golden chariot to take Krishna away, returning to inflict more misery on us, which of course will please the Lord. The Lord is so cruel. He's making us suffer through his devotee Akrur. So he's back again. But then suddenly Udav appeared, having finished his early morning duties. That really confused everybody because Udav didn't look like Akrur. He looked like Krishna. So that's where we stop. Tomorrow is going to be really exciting. It's all about Udav and the Venu, what is it called? The Song of the Bee. And sorry? Oh yeah, Brahma Gita. Brahma Gita. So Karuna, would you like to sing tomorrow the Song of the Bee?
Hey, Prabhu.
Brilliant. Thank you. So that's the end of this chapter. It's actually a shame to stop here, but anyway, part 2 is tomorrow. Any questions, any comments? Anybody like to ask anything or share?
So congratulate Prabhuji that we have done halfway of Canto 10.
Yes,
We did that
correct.
yesterday, yeah. And
Yeah.
the other thing was that it says he has no mother, no father, no wife, children. I think there's a message for us that in this material world, we have to live like that. A sense of like a lotus flower, no attachment to anything, and just do your duty.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, any attachment in this world will make us stay in this world.
And brings a lot of misery.
And misery.
Yeah, it is. Because happiness is only transient.
Transient. And it's very flickering, right? Very little. It's
Very little flicker, yeah.
very, very tiny. But the unhappiness is huge.
So when I was reading this chapter, I was struck by this sentence. No
Yeah.
father, no mother. I thought that's true. So true.
Yeah. And we've seen it right in the past times. We've seen it with Chitraketu, when the son dies and they bring him back and the son says, which mother, which father are you talking about? I don't recognize these guys. I've had millions of mothers and fathers. Which one are you talking about? But yeah, and sometimes, Naniben, it takes, Krishna actually helps us by taking away the attachments.
Yes.
And sometimes we think, why did you do that, Krishna? Why did you take this person away from me? But actually, it's a blessing because he's trying to stop that attachment from keeping us in this world. So it's a tough one.
Right.
Really tough one, because sometimes the person we love the most is suddenly not there, and you think, whoa, what happened? Why am I here? And he is not here.
It also says that the devotee who sort of was doing well in his spiritual progress, and then he falls down because of this material attachment. And then the Krishna says he takes away everything else from him as well, so that he can bounce back onto the spiritual life.
Correct. Yeah.
With passage of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fine edge. It's like a razor's edge, isn't it? Because it can, everything taken away from you can drive you in either direction. If you're not careful, it can take you away from Krishna, or it can bring you very close to Krishna. Like Prabhupada, everything was taken away from him. Everything. He had so much. He had a fantastic family, amazing business. But everything was taken away from him. But the way he looked at it, especially when he read a verse from the Bhagavatam, and I think we've gone through that verse, that for those whom I favor, I take away everything from them. So they simply have my lotus feet as their shelter, and I fully protect them. That's a blessing. That's a real blessing. But one can take it the other way, Krishna's taken everything away from me. And I had one situation where one lady said to me, I don't believe in God anymore. He took away my mother. And even you, Nabi, you are praying for her and she went. So, okay. Yeah, but this is the material body. He won't protect the body. He'll protect her, the soul. So we have to understand that we are beyond this body, and the Lord, he will always protect. Even if, especially if we request him for protection, he will protect. But he won't necessarily protect the body. So don't lose the faith. Have the faith. So, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Anybody else? Anything else? Nutan, would you like to share anything? Are you with us?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
No, I'm definitely a listener here. It's all very new to me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you for
Hare
being
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Kamash.
As Nani Ben was saying about, I think sometime, or I think you just said about when you're praying for somebody who is not well or in a deathbed, and the relatives probably sometimes not understanding that the time has come, but they still want that person to be
Yeah.
there. And it's difficult for them to comprehend that death is inevitable. And after praying and praying and praying, that they still face the death, that when it's death, find it unacceptable. I think we had one scenario, some relatives in Birmingham. We just went to visit them, and their son suffered from no, there was some blood disease that he died at the age of 16.
Wow.
And the father said, I don't believe in God. And my husband tried to explain that, we all come with karma and whatever he could explain. So he was adamant. I said, no, my son was only 16. Why did God have to take him? I don't believe that he existed. So we have this sort of people who have not acknowledged the way Krishna does things. It's not because he wants to do it, it's just because we have our karma that we have to
Suffer,
pay the
yeah.
consequences and suffer it out. Okay, Hare Krishna.
No, thank you for sharing.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I will add here so a little bit.
Of-
When I went to my first Vedanta class, I remember our teacher just saying that the Vedas promise every prayer has to be answered. And that's actually stuck in my head. So sorry, I said earlier on, but I would like to speak. And during COVID times, we have a prayer group. And we just prayed for, even if we knew somebody was on their last legs, we just stayed up and prayed, did Mahamrityunjay mantras, whatever, because having that thing at the back of my mind that every prayer has to be answered. So even when the patient is dying, he will die peacefully through all our, or the last moments will be peaceful. Or our prayers will help in some way. There'll be a kind nurse who'll give them a bit more morphine than was supposed to be, which I keep hearing about. But I think it definitely does work.
Oh, for 100% sure, because
I mean, people who don't have the knowledge or don't believe, they're like, well, we did all these prayers and we were praying for a whole month and we did this Bhavan and this, and he still died. But that's, your birth date and,
what to do?
already stamped on you anyway when you're born. So, I mean, that's how I deal with it with my son leaving us at 20. I never turned away from the Lord because
You turned to the Lord. You were
in fact, completely closer and closer to the Lord.
That's amazing.
Because I had understood that he only had 20 years, and not once did I say, why me? What did I do wrong? It was just, thank you for giving him to us, because we adopted him and it was a wonder child. And thank you for making us his parents for 20 years, and it was all through bhakti and just a bit of knowledge. I have a bit more since then, but at that time just had a little bit of knowledge, but it just kept me completely attached to my mandir. Sorry, I tell
you, this is you are a phenomenal example, because you actually, I remember you telling me this and how you got into understanding spirituality and it got into the Bhagavad Gita, and how you're attributing everything to the Lord's mercy by by taking him away, actually, you gave.
No, I see it as him coming in our life
Yeah.
to actually completely turn our paths. Yes,
Yeah.
we were born, my husband and I both born in spiritual families. We had spiritual practices going on, but nothing like this. If he was around, I mean, of course, I would have him back anytime, but if he was around at the moment, he would have been 27. I would have been, had he found someone, should we think about engagements, shall we get you married? When do you want to get married? I would all be in that mode. Have we got you can we help you buy a flat, or are you okay? But it would all be around the daughter and son.
Yeah.
But now it's, the bhakti is number one, absolutely number
Amazing.
one.
Amazing.
But I think he came into our lives to completely change us around.
What you're
So
saying,
it's very positive. So when somebody
very
dies, and I have talked to a lot of people, and I've sort of tried to turn them a little bit. I'm like, please, especially when they say, I don't believe in God now. I'm like, oh, no. That's the least, that's the only thing that's going to help you through this, or come to terms with it. Please don't walk away from God, because God doesn't do anything. We come with our little suitcase and of prarabdha, karma, and as soon as the last one is finished, we have to go. So no.
See, I would put you up as a great example. And whenever I come across this, I'll always call upon you actually to come and guide the family through the grief, because you've gone through it.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just gone through it, but you have actually excelled. And this is very unique. You're a phenomena.
I don't know about that, but even seeing my 24-year-old daughter, who was really got messed up because she was only 17 when her brother died, and just about to sit her first year A-level exams. And oh my goodness, she was in a complete mess. Absolutely loved her brother. And when he went to university, they got even closer. And she couldn't, she was taking 19 tablets a night. She was in a complete mess. But we went for a Char Dham Yatra, came back, and she turned away from God. She said, I don't believe in God. He's taken my brother away. I don't care what you do, Mom, or what you say. I have nothing. And then she came, we managed to drag her to India for a Char Dham Yatra. And she came everywhere. And then when she came back, she came off all her tablets. I said, leave your tablets, just put them away. And so then she developed a little bit of faith that, having been to this spiritual place, something happened, and she managed to drop her tablets. But she went through a really hard patch. And then slowly my sisters got into the Bhagavad Gita classes, and they said to her that, she wouldn't listen to me, obviously, I'm mom. But slowly she started sitting in the classes now. And now she advocates it to her friends her age and say, look, please come and sit, even if you pick up 2-3 things and just work on it. So my son has changed all our lives. My husband was always playing golf on a Sunday morning, and he sits in all the Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita classes. And I think he's one of the top students now. He understands a lot more than I do. But he would not come anywhere near my mandir or what have you. But now I see him, I catch him quite, sometimes sitting there in the mandir by himself. But anyway, we all have our own ways of dealing with it. But
thank you for sharing.
If you ever have anyone you need, me
definitely
to talk
call
to,
on you.
Please do. I would love to. I've spoken to a lot of
Brilliant.
people and just
Brilliant.
can't. Anyway, sorry
Thank
to take
you.
so much time.
No, thank you so much. No, it's good. I think it's good for people to hear this, because inevitably in this world, there will always be loss. It's not that we're going to always have everything that we got. It's that we will lose everything. And when we deal with it like you are dealing with it.
Prabhuji, one word that sticks in the mind all the time through the scriptural studies is impermanence. And once that word is stuck in your mind, you can slowly, not detach from your family or anything, but you slowly in your mind, if you keep that word in your mind, everything is impermanent. Even when you're really happy, that word can pop into your mind and say, just calm down, because this is not going to last. And when you're sad, you can uplift yourself, because that word will pop in and say, don't worry, this phase is going to go.
I think what you said, that I thanked God. When you thank God, yes, in happiness, it's natural. In unhappiness, thank you, my dear Lord, for giving me this unhappiness. You
Yeah.
just showing me how temporary this world is and how I should become
Totally
closer to you.
temporary.
That's
Everything. We
very
say my house. Hundreds of people have lived here and thousands will live after I'm gone. It's not my house. Nothing is mine. Anyway, thank you,
Thank
Prabhu,
you.
for
Thank you
giving
so
me
much.
time.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, we can stop.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Dandavad
Krishna.
Prabhu,
Oh,
Nitai
Srini,
Gaur
you're
Hare
here. Fantastic. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Srinityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham. Yes, Prabhu, very interesting topic.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would like to share something from Prema Vivarta. In Prema Vivarta, Jagadananda Pandit, he says that we should understand that our friends and family members, they are devotees of Krishna, they're servants of Krishna. And therefore, we have to care for them as we would care for ourselves. Therefore, be kind and sweet to our friends and family members and serve them because they are devotees of Krishna. Vaishnava Seva, Paramasiddhi. And also, Jagadananda Pandit in Prema Vivarta, he says that Krishna may gives us friends and relatives, but also Krishna may take away friends and relatives. In any condition, Jagadananda Pandit, he said, we have to maintain our mind equipoised and be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So the main point is to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness in Hari Kirtan and Hari Katha, and to avoid lamentation and bewilderment of memory. Yeah, in this way, continue our Krishna consciousness in absorbed in bhakti. Nitai Gaur Haribol Prabhu, thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Srinabu. Very
Okay.
nice.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, sorry, Madhusan Babu.
Jai Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting discussion here, and obviously people are reflecting from their experiences and the situation, we find ourselves when we, somebody who's very close, then obviously people are in grief. And like, mentioned, sometimes people, without the proper knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and understanding different matter, spirit and all that people get stuck in grief and they just don't know how to get out of it or how to overcome it. And then they don't understand why, what's happened, or whatever. And they can spend years and years in that situation. And without this gyan, that's why we're fortunate. Sometimes we go and find ourselves in a situation where we have to try to pacify, just like in this chapter here. Krishna has left Brindavan, but they're all in a way kind of in separation. So we should understand that nobody is actually died, everyone is eternal. They've just moved on, and you may see them again. I don't know what that is, but we get stuck in grief because we are attached to the material body. And that's the reason, so we might get separated, but we in one sense, then, like Prabhu said, all the close friends, relatives come into our life. Somehow Krishna sends those people into our lives because of what we either might desire or whatever, and so somehow to serve him through them. There's the one I saw a poet, it says, your children are not really yours. They come through you, not for you. And when we understand that, they come through you. It's just Krishna trying to express life through you, through ourselves. And then we have come through some other parents as well, and they've moved on, and So anyway, I'll complete this instructions. Very
Nice.
interesting anyway. Yeah.
Mm.
Chapter 40. So we can see in this chapter that we learn why Krishna actually sends Udav to Vrindavan and how he is received by Nand Maharaj, and they, on the way, there's obviously that beautiful descriptions of Gokula at dawn, cows coming home and the hoofs and, all the different lotuses and lakes and everything. It's wonderful. But beyond this outwardly beauty, obviously there was this obvious suffering in separation from Krishna by all the Brijvasis, which Udav couldn't see or anything, but they were all feeling that, and they were overcoming it somehow by the gopis singing Krishna's glories every day and remembering him like that, and then so feeling connected like that. So that's what we can do ourselves, in our everyday life. We are separate from Krishna, but because we're singing about Krishna and listening about Krishna, and so in one sense we're separated, but then Krishna enhances that separation just to increase our desire to be close to Krishna through chanting, and he's non-different. Maha mantra is non-different. So when you chant Krishna's name, Krishna is there present. So you connected in one way and separated in another way. So, but we can also see how Udav is actually trying to pacify Nand Maharaj with some philosophical reasoning. So sometimes philosophically we may try to help people, he's an Atma, or is this, that. Philosophically we may say it was karma, is that. But actually we'll find out more deeper understanding that Udav gets.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Fantastic.
you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
46 ki jai.